Your highest, most dependable source of cash flow is your earning ability. Your ability to earn money is the same as a huge factory that produces products and services that are then sold, and the profit is generated back to the owners. And in the old days, you needed land, labor, capital, fixtures, furniture, raw materials. Today, all you need is brains. Your ability to earn, your ability to apply your mind to your world can generate tens of thousands of dollars a year into your life. You can enjoy the highest standard of living ever imagined in the history of man on this earth by just applying your brains to your community. Isn't that incredible? Your earning ability is something you must be very careful about not taking for granted. We often take our earning ability for granted. We think it's kind of a general amorphous mass, but it's not. It's a very, very special quantity. Number two, your most precious resource, all you really have to sell is your time. In fact, all of your life is a trade. You start off in life with lots of time and no money. As you get older, you start to trade your time for money. And when you're 20s and 30s, you can look around at your current net worth and you can say, this is how well I've traded. The average family in America has a net worth of $35,000. That's when the parents are in their 30s and 40s. That's $35,000. So what they've done is they've traded the first 30 or 40 years of their life for about $1,000 a year. If I said, I'll give you $1,000 a year and I'll put you in jail, will you sit in jail for $1,000 a year? If I say, I'll tell you what, you work all year long at this job and I'll give you $1,000 extra at the end of the year, would you work for $1,000 extra above and beyond your cost of living and food and transportation? Most people are working, that's $83 a month. Think about that. People are working for $83 a month. That's what they're trading their lives for in terms of what they have left over. So, your most precious resource is your time. Your ability to trade your time well determines the entire quality of your life. And don't ever think that somebody else is smarter than you. I'm going to give you an important point, 2 points. Point number one, which is metaphysical but true, is that you are a thoroughly good person. You are a thoroughly good person. Right down deep inside of your heart, you are a very, very good, kind, compassionate, generous, outstanding, excellent human being. Now that is a fact. If you have problems with the fact, it does not contradict the fact. That's the fact. The second part is that you're as good as anyone else. And the reverse of that is no one's better than you. And you must never think and never question that you are not a thoroughly good person. And you must never think that anyone is better than you. Some people may be ahead of you on some of the roads of life, but that's just because they made better choices and decisions than you. And maybe even they had better breaks than you. But no one is better than you. Nobody's better than you. They're different, but no one's better. Don't ever think that people are doing better than you because they are better than you. Those are two separate categories. If a person does neurosurgery, does that mean that person is better than you? Or are they just better at neurosurgery? But they're not better than you. In terms of your quality as a person, because the person does neurosurgery means they're simply better at neurosurgery. But nobody's better than you. Okay. Number 3 is the best investment of your time and money. What is the best investment of your time and money? It's to increase your earning ability. It's to increase your earning ability. Sometimes we talk about saving time. Can you save time? No. All you can do is reallocate time. Time can only be spent. It cannot be saved. It can only be spent differently than you're spending it today, but it can't be saved because it passes in an inexorable fashion. As someone once said, time is God's way of making sure everything doesn't happen at once. Here's the important point, though. We talk about time-saving devices and time-saving ideas, and I teach time management all the time. So we say, well, you save a few minutes here and a few minutes there and 2 extra hours per day, all of which is eminently achievable. But what are the great wastes of time? What are the really great wastes of time? Well, I'll tell you what the greatest... Television is a great waste of time on a day-to-day basis. I'll tell you the greatest waste of time. Number 1, staying in a job that has no future for you and working at it for years. And there are many people who work at jobs for years when they burned out on the job years ago. There is no future in that job. They'll never be happy. They'll never be successful. They'll never be promoted. And they'll waste a decade or 2 decades in it. Number 2 is staying in a bad relationship where there's no future. No greater waste of time than staying year after year after year in a relationship that has no future. And many people do that. We've all done it because of a lot of reasons. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of rejection, afraid of criticism, afraid of being alone, afraid of this and so on. And sooner or later, by the way, with the inevitability of life, we will find ourselves adrift. We will be out of the job or out of the relationship. And then we'll look back and say, oh my God, look at all the years I spent there when I could have walked away a long time ago. I'll tell you what the third great waste of time is. The third great waste of time is to make $25,000 a year for many, many years when you could be making 100 or 150 or 200 because you had not brought your earning ability up to that level. When the person to the left of you and the person to the right of you had done it, when the bookstores and the tape stores are full of instructions on how to do it and you didn't, that's really dumb. I mean, that's super stupid. Number 4 is become an expert in time management. Time actually equals life. And we're not talking about time management, we're talking about life management. And that it behooves us not just to learn a few things on time management, but to become absolutely excellent at time management. Very good at time management. Because if you're very good at time management, it means you're very good at running your life. The most precious thing you have in the whole world. And the wonderful thing is this, excellence at time management frees up and makes possible so many other things in your life. But if you're poor at time management, your whole life is catch-up ball. It's all scramble. So therefore, make a decision, and I'll pass on a little piece of advice to you that's been helpful to me. Many people have what we call the quick fix mentality. I have a problem, therefore I want a quick fix. I want a quick book, quick tape. I want one idea, and they'll solve all my problems that have taken me my whole life to develop. If I were to say to you, well, you're 30 pounds overweight, I've got a technique that'll help you lose that weight in 1 minute. Or how about lose that weight in 1 week or 1 hour or 1 book or 1 pamphlet or 1 technique? I get stuff all the time from people selling this snake oil that here's the fast, sneaky, different, new, unique way to accomplish extraordinary things. Don't be sucked in. Don't be an idiot. It takes you your whole life to get to this point. It takes you a little bit longer to get somewhere. So what I do when I decide to develop a skill, and I always have skills going on, is I start what is called a do-it-to-yourself project. Is I will say, okay, time management, and I'm going to start off and I'm going to make a plan, that's my goal, and I'm going to pick a series of books and courses and tapes, and I am going to work all this year to become an expert in time management. I'm not going to try to do it instantly overnight in a week. I'm going to give myself a year, but I'm going to start on it immediately. I'm not going to procrastinate on the start, because if you procrastinate on the start, you can usually end up procrastinating on the whole year. And what you do is you just say, okay, and you give yourself a year. So I have 1-year projects. Person says, I want to be really good in selling. What's the one thing I need to know? No, what you need to do is you need to read 5 to 10 books. A book a month will do. A book a week is better. You need to listen to the best audio programs. You need to take notes. You need to imagine that soon you will be writing your own book and teaching your own course. And you need to take everything that you think is worthwhile, and you need to go out every day and practice it over and over again, 5, 10, 50, 100,000 times. At the end of a year, if you'll do this, don't try to do it in a week or a month. At the end of a year, you will be 2 to 3 times further ahead of where you are today. You'll double or triple your income. And there's absolutely no doubt about that. I've given this advice to countless people. If you give yourself a year, don't try to change your whole world. Be patient. Patience, Henry Ford once said that the keys to business are patience and foresight, business success, and a man or woman who lacks patience is not cut out for success in business. It takes time. So say, okay, this is the year of time management. In the next 12 months, I'm going to become absolutely excellent at time management. Every day, I'm going to learn something about time management. I'm going to read every little article. I'm going to take a course. I'm going to discipline myself to run my life differently so that I become really good at it. And that will free up more time, more opportunities. I had a young man in Cleveland told me recently, he said, Brian, I bought your tape a year ago on time management. and my life was in a shambles, and I have 2 young kids, and I wasn't spending time at home. He said, this last year, he said, I tripled my income. I became the #1 rookie in the state of Pennsylvania, and I doubled the amount of time I spend with my family. He said, it's absolutely wonderful. I did not believe that by practicing these proven methodologies, I could triple my results in one area and double the amount of time I spent with my family simultaneously. And I'm more relaxed, and I'm enjoying it more than I did a year ago when my life was out of control. So, just give yourself a try. Number 5 is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, and it says that 20% of what you do will account for 80% of your results. So therefore, you must always be concentrating on the 20% of your activities that have the potential to account for most of your results. I have worked with billion-dollar corporations, and I remember working with one of the richest men in the world, one of the stars in the Forbes 400. And after 2 or 3 days of work with him and his senior executive group, we looked at everything we talked about, and you know the conclusion that they all came to? That damn 80-20 rule, got the most application to us. This is a multinational, multi-billion-dollar, huge corporation, powerful people, and their conclusion was the 80-20 rule was that something that they'd gotten away from too often. They had to get back to that 80-20 rule. And it is so powerful. People say, I've heard it 1,000 times before. Yes. Whenever a person says, I've heard that before, my question is, yes, but do you do it every day? Well, no, I don't do it, but I've heard about it before. So therefore, always be asking, is what I'm doing right now in the top 20% of the things I could be doing? Number 6, plan the activities necessary to achieve your goal. Plan the activities necessary to achieve your goals. Why? It's because activities are controllable. So control the activities every day, every day, every day. Hold your own feet to the fire. Upgrade your skills continually. Get better at your key tasks. Get better at your key tasks. That's very important. Get better. Get good. Get better. Be the best. Get good. Get better. Be the best. Continuous personal and professional development is your key to the future. It's your key to the future. And here are the 3 keys. And I'll hammer them over and over again. Number 1 is read 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day will translate into roughly 1 book per week. 1 book per week will translate into roughly 50 books per year. 50 books per year will translate into 500 books in 10 years. At the very least, you'll need a bigger house just to hold your books. If you read 500 books in the next 10 years, in a business where the average person reads less than 1, you'll be one of the smartest and highest paid sales professionals in this country. And it doesn't matter whether you graduated from university or high school. Nothing matters if you read in the morning, 30 to 60 minutes, and you apply it during the day and review it in the evening for a few minutes. And every day, read a little bit, apply a little bit, review. Read, apply, review. Read, apply, review. I can promise you it will not take you 2 or 3 or 5 years. Within 30 days, your career will have gone off like that. Listen to audio tapes in your car. This is so important because audio tape listening has made people into self-made millionaires. Literally by the tens, if not the hundreds of thousands. People who do not have a lot of time to read or were not great readers have found just by audio tape listening, the average person here spends 500 to 1,000 hours in their car each year. That's 3 to 6 months of 40-hour weeks. That's 3 to 6 months of 40-hour weeks. That's the equivalent of 1 to 2 full-time university semesters. You can become one of the best educated and highest paid professionals in your field in America just listening to audio cassettes as you drive around. Just like the gentleman on Wednesday who said, I bought the 1 set of tapes and I added $70,000 to my income that year with 1 set of tapes. And the person next to him says, oh yeah, well, wouldn't apply to me. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's no help for these people. Anyway. Now, application exercise. Please write down one thing you're going to do differently as a result of what we've just talked about in time empowerment. Increasing your earning ability, using your time, getting better at your key tasks, focusing 80% of your time on new business development, creating and keeping customers, prospecting, presenting, and following up. One thing you're going to do differently that you have not been doing in the past. And sometimes a good way to write it is, I resolve. that from now on and write it in the present tense, from now on I spend 80% of my time in new business development activities. I resolve. Always write it in the present tense. Not I will or I'm going to, but I do. If somebody were to ask you a month from now, how do you use your time? I spend 80% of my time in new business development activities. I read every morning before I start off because I'm serious about my future.